Hi everyone, welcome to Online Piano Learning. My name is Sara and today we will be talking about sight reading. Sight reading is challenging for many musicians of all levels. If you are a beginner, don't be discouraged if you start sight reading and you feel like it's slow and difficult. Today, I will be giving you some tips for what you can do to improve your sight reading process and start using good habits to prepare you for more fun, exciting music making. Before you start reading, I recommend you learn some basic music theory. So learn your treble clef and bass clef notes. I will have a video on reading the grand stuff coming soon, and also some basic rhythms. Here's what you need to do when you opened up your book and you're ready to start reading. A common mistake for sight reading is not looking at the music before you play it. I know it sounds silly, but there's a lot of information, especially at the beginning of the piece, which can prepare us for a more successful read of the music. Let's start by looking at step 1. Read the key signature. I know it sounds obvious, but it's right at the beginning of the piece and a lot of people forget about it. For example, if you have an F sharp in the key signature, you have to make sure that you remember every F that you play has to be a sharp, and the composer won't remind you. Because there's so much information entering your brain while you're reading, it's really easy to forget about the key signature. And if you didn't see it at all, then that will make it even more difficult. If you know how to recognize the key, that will help you even more. For example, if you have an F sharp and you're in G major, and you've been practicing your G major scales and your technique, then you will be able to remember which fingerings work for certain passages. I will have a video on how to figure out what key you're in from looking at the key signature in a really quick and easy way coming out soon, so stay tuned. When that video is out, I'll link it right up here. Once we figure out our key signature, we should just scan through the piece and see if there are any other accidentals that might sneak up on us. For example, if we're in G major with one sharp and all of a sudden we are in E minor, you might start to see some D sharps, which are from the E harmonic minor. This wouldn't be unusual because they are relative major and minor keys. The next thing that we have to take a look at is the time signature. The time signature is going to tell us how many beats are in each bar and what kind of note is getting one beat. For example, in 4/4 time, we have 4 beats in a bar and quarter notes get 1 beat. And in 6/8 time, we have 6 beats in a bar and eighth notes are getting 1 beat. The next thing that you have to do when you're looking at the key signature is to figure out how you are going to count. Are you going to subdivide or not? Subdividing is when instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 notes, I would count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And if I have 16th notes, I would count 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. What you need to do when you look at the music is to figure out what is your shortest note value. That is how you should subdivide. If you have a rhythm like this, for example, 1, 2, and 3, 4. I know it's easier to just add and on the second beat like I did there, but that can be risky because you can always go 1, 2, and, right? And that is not correct because we have 1 and 2 and. But a big mistake that beginners make is to rush the tempo or slow down the tempo. So keeping the same subdivision all the way through is going to help you maintain that. The next thing that you need to do is to look at the big picture. Find patterns, repeating sections, and contrasting sections. A lot of music has repeating sections. It's how composers get melodies stuck in our head. So look for those sections that are repeating. If it's a melody that's the same or the left hand that's the same, it'll save you a lot of time and effort because when you get there, you know you've already read through this music. We can also look for smaller patterns in music. For example, this melody has 2 parts and they are repeating. The next thing that you should look for is contrasting sections. Look for changes, for example, big jumps where you're going to have to move your hands, changes in register, like going from the middle register up to the high register or low register, or changes in tempo. The next thing that you need to do is choose your tempo. I know it can be tempting to start fast, especially if you know the piece or your tempo marking says prestissimo. But in reality, we might not play the final tempo right away, and that's okay. In order to choose your tempo, look for the fastest rhythm in the music and plan your tempo around that. For example, if we look through this piece, you can see that this is the fastest rhythm. What tempo can you play it successfully? If you choose that tempo, then chances are everything else you will be able to do at that tempo as well. You don't want to choose a tempo where you feel kind of comfortable, but once you get to that section with a faster rhythm, then you're going to be stuck and stumbling. Finally, the final step is your preparation. You're ready to start. You have to choose your fingering, where your hands will be at the beginning. If your melody is going up, you might want to start with your thumb in the right hand so that you have space to go up. Once you choose your fingering for the beginning, then you have to start counting at least one whole bar before you start. So if you decided to subdivide, start subdividing right away. You might want to count 2 bars if the bar is shorter, like in 2/4. Well, that's it for everything you have to know before you start reading. I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, this part is one of the most important parts. The next step is what you do when you're actually reading. The first thing you want to do while you're reading is to keep counting. A lot of people stop counting once they get into the piece, and their tempo starts steady, but then they lose track very quickly and get discouraged. So keep counting all the way through, and it will help you stay on track. Counting out loud will help you stay accountable. Countable. The next thing you need to do is to look ahead. A lot of new beginners have tunnel vision, so they look exactly at the note that they're playing. If you do this, by the time you look at the next note, you've already slowed down. Use your peripheral vision to look for what's coming next and figure out what's coming next. Is it a step, skip, a leap, or is it the same note being repeated? Recognizing patterns like this is going to be crucial for successful note reading. Keep looking ahead and try not to stop even if you make a mistake. Now, this next one is for when you feel stressed out and you make a mistake. I recommend that you stay connected. What I mean by stay connected is try to hold on to that note where you were before the note that you are looking for. A lot of people just lift their hands off the keys and they disconnect. And what happens when you do that? Not only do you not know what's coming up next, but you also forgot where you're coming from. Also, in terms of long term, if you decide to learn this piece, then you just taught your muscles that at this point you disconnect and your muscle memory will disconnect as well. Well, those are the 3 main tips that I have while reading, but the most important thing that you need to do is what happens once you're done sight reading. Once you're done reading, keep reading often. The more you read, the more fluent you'll get. It's just like any other language. Even if you follow all these rules and tips and you don't read often, you most likely won't improve that much. So go ahead and find any music that you like to listen to, pieces that you know, some pieces that you don't know. Don't be afraid of reading something that's too difficult for you, even if you're just attempting one clef or an easy section of it. The more exposure and practice you get, the better you'll get for sure. Anyways, that's it for my sight reading video. If you found this helpful, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I will be going into a lot more details about these topics. I hope that through this channel, I will be able to help you get all the musicianship skills that you'll need to reach your goals as a pianist and musician. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.